High School and your Norris Titans. Norris High School in the Eastern Midlands Conference and the Nebraska Schools Activity Association promotes good sportsmanship by students, athletes, coaches, and spectators. We request your cooperation by supporting the participants and the umpires in a positive manner, and we thank you in advance for that cooperation. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's meet tonight's starting lineups. First of all, for the visiting team on the scoreboard, leading off for Bennington, playing right field, number 1, Brooklyn Fitch. Batting second and playing shortstop, number 3, Taylor Redmond. Batting third for the Badgers and catching, number 8, Kaylin Muller. Batting fourth as your designated player, number 4, Alyssa Anderson. Batting fifth for Bennington, playing center field, number 15, Hannah Wedman. Batting sixth and playing third base, number 16, Bella Worth. Batting seventh for the Badgers and pitching, number 13, Skylar Johnson. Batting eighth and playing first base, number 21, Sophia Reimer. And batting ninth, playing left field, number 2, Adrian Trebell. And the flex player for Bennington, playing second base, Abby Richley. Bennington is coached by assistant coaches Olivia Philhaber, Mike Krembeck, Allie Bradburn, Colin McLean, and the head coach, Landon Blanchard. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here is the starting lineup for your Norris Titans. Leading off as the designated player, number 2, Reese Behrens. Batting second and catching, and we want to wish her a happy birthday, number 7, Liv Mackey. Batting third for Norris and playing first base, number 16, Myra Carlo. Batting fourth and playing shortstop, number 15, Haley McMurray. Batting fifth for the Titans and playing left field, number 12, Leah Ozenbaum. Batting sixth, playing right field, number 10, Keelan Yokin. Batting seventh for Norris and playing second base, number 1, Ava Schmuddy. And batting eighth, playing third base, number 8, Kenzie Sebrandt. And batting ninth and playing center field, number 4, Marley Pavelka. And the flex player and pitching, number 3, Embry Bednar. Norris is coached by assistant coaches Cammie Parker, Brian Nurnberg, Charis Wamsley, Chad Otto, Scott Cohote, Brett Behrens, and the CEO and head coach of Norris, Mr. Kyle McMurray. And now, ladies and gentlemen, if you would please rise if you're able and face center field to honor this wonderful nation for the playing of our national anthem. Ladies and gentlemen, our umpires tonight, and it is the Fall Officials Appreciation Week for the NSA, Mr. Carlos Sandoval and Mr. Corey Edgard. We could not play the game without the men in blue. Good luck to both teams, and let's play softball. We'd like to remind you, the spectators.
Good evening, and welcome to tonight's broadcast of high school softball by MSTV on the Norris Softball YouTube channel. I'm Mitchell Severson, and tonight we have the Bennington Badgers visiting the campus of Norris School District to take on the Norris Titans. The away team is the Bennington Badgers. Bennington comes in the game with a 9-9 record, with a recent win against Lincoln Northwest yesterday, 8-0. The Badgers are coached by Landon Blanchard and assisted by Colin McLean, Ali Bradburn, Mike Krambeck, and Olivia Fellhaber. The home team is the Norris Titans. Norris comes in the game with a 15-8 record, with a recent loss on Tuesday to Hastings 2-1. The Titans are coached by Kyle McMurray and assisted by Scott Cohote, Brett Behrens, and Cheris Walmsley. And the Titans are on the field right now. Behind the plate is Liv Mackey. Pitching is Embry Bedner. At first base, Myra Carlo. Second base, it's Ava Schmuddy. Shortstop is Haley McMurray. Third base, Kinsey Seabrandt. In the outfield, starting in left field, number 12, Leah Ozenbaugh. In center field, number 4, Marley Pavelka. And in right field, number 10, Keelan Yelkin. Batting for the Badgers here in the top of the first inning will be number 1, Brooklyn Fitch, followed by number 3, Taylor Redmond, and number 8, Kaylin Moeller. Brooklyn Fitch comes into the game with a 361 batting average, 13 hits in 36 at-bats, 9 runs, 8 RBIs, 2 doubles, and 1 home run. She is only a freshman. Here's the first pitch to Brooklyn Fitch. In the dirt, ball 1-0 the count to Fitch. Bennington goes to Omaha Burke on Saturday after this, and Norris goes to the Lincoln Southeast Tournament this weekend. 2-0 the count now to Brooklyn Fitch. Here's the 2-0 pitch from Bedner. Just inside, ball 3, 3-0 the count now to Brooklyn Fitch. Here's the 3-0 pitch from Embry Bedner. In there, strike 1 called, 3-1 the count out of Brooklyn Fitch. Here's the 3-1 pitch from Embry Bedner. Swung on and fouled off, and the count's now full. 3-2 the count to Brooklyn Fitch, with Taylor Redmond in the on-deck circle for the Badgers. And here's the 3-2 pitch from Embry Bedner. And that goes outside and gets by the catcher, Liv Mackey, and it's a leadoff walk for Brooklyn Fitch. Brings to plate number 3, Taylor Redmond. Shortstop tonight for the Badgers. Redmond boasts a .300 average with 12 hits and fouled off by Redmond. 0-1 the count to Taylor Redmond. With 12 hits and 40 at-bats, 9 runs, 5 RBIs, 3 doubles. Here's the 0-1 pitch from Bedner with Fitch on first. Shows bunt. Bunt is up the middle. It's a good one. Bedner's got it over to first, and it gets by the first baseman, Carlo. Fitch is going to head to third, and Redmond to second. It'll be runners on second and third, and nobody out here early in the first inning. That'll bring to plate number 8, Kalen Moeller, with runners on second and third and nobody out. Moeller has a 300 average, 15 hits and 50 at-bats, 0 runs, 9 RBIs, and a double. And here's the first pitch to Moeller, inside, ball 1, 1-0 the count to Kalen Moeller. Here's the 1-0 pitch from Bednar. Swung on and missed, strike 1, 1-1 the count to Kalen Moeller now. Here's the 1-0-1 pitch, bunted foul, and the count's now 1-2 to Moeller. I don't expect a bunt here from Moeller with a 1-2 count. Number 4, Alyssa Anderson on deck for the Badgers. Bednar's ready, and here's the 1-2 pitch. Outside, ball 2, 2-2 the count now to Moeller. Here's the 2-2 pitch from Bednar. Swung on, hit down the right field line, but foul, and the count will remain the same at 2-2. Runners on second and third for the Badgers, and nobody out. Here's the 2-2 pitch from Bednar. High ball 3, great job there by Mackey to make sure that ball didn't get by her. And it's a full count now to Moeller. Three-two pitches swung on and missed for the first punchy of the day for Embry Bednar. That'll bring to plate number 4, Alyssa Anderson. Anderson is batting .438 on the year with 14 hits and 32 at-bats, 10 runs, 7 RBIs, and 3 doubles. Infield is playing in, and here's the first pitch to Anderson. Inside, ball 1. 1-0 the count to Alyssa Anderson. Here's the 1-0 pitch from Bednar. In there, strike 1 called, 1-1 the count now to Alyssa Anderson. Here's the 1-1 pitch from Bednar. In there, strike 2 called, 1-2 the count now to Anderson. Here's the 1-2 pitch from Bednar. Fouled off down the third base line, and the count will remain the same at 1-2. Hannah Wagman's on deck for the Badgers. Here's the 1-2 pitch from Bednar. Swung on and that hit off of Mackey. Looks like it was fouled off of Mackey, and the count will remain the same at 1-2. Badgers currently on a 2-game losing streak with... Sorry, they're not. They snapped that yesterday against Northwest when the win 8-0. But before that, they had a 2-game losing streak against Gretna East. They lost 6-0 on the day before, on Tuesday the 23rd, and they lost on Saturday to Elkhorn 12-1. Norris, before the loss to Hastings on Tuesday, had a 4-game winning streak with wins against Waverly, Gretna East, Elkhorn, and 2 wins against Waverly, 1 at home and 1 away. Swung on and fouled off, and the count remained the same in 1 and 2. Here's the 1-2 pitch from Bednar. Low ball 2, 2-2 the count now to Alyssa Anderson. And here's the 2-2 pitch. Swung on, hit down the left field line, but foul as it hooked just at the last minute. And the count will remain the same at 2-2. Bednar looking to work herself out of a jam. First batter of the inning, Brooklyn Fitch walked, and Taylor Redmond, the second batter, bunted single, and then an error let her go to second. And that one's in the dirt. Ball 3, 3-2 the count now to Alyssa Anderson. And then the third batter of the inning, Kaylin Muller, struck out. So that's where we're at. Runners out on second and third, and 1 out for Anderson. And here's the 3-2 pitch from Bednar. Swung on and missed, strike 3. Bednar blows it by Anderson. Second punchy of the night for Embry Bednar, and that'll bring to the plate number 15, Hannah Wegman. Wegman comes into the game batting .245 on the year. In 48-9 at bat, she has 12 hits, 12 runs, 8 RBIs, a double, and 1 home run. And here's the first pitch to Wegman. She takes strike 1. 1-1 the count to Hannah Wegman. Swung on and missed, strike 2, 0-2 the count out of Wegman. The Badgers have a fairly young roster with only 4 seniors on it. And one of them's at the plate in number 15, Hannah Wegman. The others are also in the lineup. That's a ball to Wegman, with Alyssa Anderson striking out in her first at-bat. Abby Richley being the flex player tonight at second base. Strike 3 to Wegman. 3 in a row punchies for Bednar to end the inning. And heading into the bottom of the first, Titans work out of a jam. It's 0-0. Leading off for the Norris Titans here in the bottom of the first inning, it'll be number 2, Reese Behrens, followed by Liv Mackey and Myra Carlo. Here's the first pitch to Behrens. Low ball 1-0 the count to Reese Behrens. Behrens is batting .541 on the year with 33 hits and 61 at bats, 16 runs, 21 RBIs, 10 doubles, 2 triples, and 5 home runs. 2-0 the count to Behrens. Here's the 2-0 pitch to Behrens. Low ball 3-0 the count now to Reese Behrens. Here's the 3-0 pitch to Behrens. In there, strike 1 called, 3-1 the count now to Reese Behrens. The pitching tonight for the Badgers is number 13, Skylar Johnson, who has a 4.67 ERA and has a 7-8 record. Swung on a missed, strike 2 to Behrens, full count to Reese Behrens. Like I was saying, has a 7-8 record, 7 wins, 8 losses, and a winning percentage of .467. Hit into the air, that'll get over the head of number 17, Abby Ridgely, and it's a single for Reese Behrens. And the leadoff runner is on for the Titans, and that'll bring to plate number 7, Liv Mackey, whose birthday is today. Mackey comes in the game with a .355 ERA with 22 hits and 62 at-bats. Behrens is going on the pitch, throw down to second. In time to get Behrens. Mackey was showing bunt, so probably a little bunt and run there. So, and that was a strike to Mackey. 0-1 the count to Liv Mackey. Like I was saying, Mackey comes in the game with a .355 average with 22 hits and 62 at-bats, 2 runs, 18 RBIs, 7 doubles, a triple, and 1 home run. And here's the 0-1 pitch to Mackey. In there, strike 2 called. 0-2 the count to Mackey. Here's the 0-2 pitch. Low ball 1-2 the count out of Mackey. Outside, ball 2-2 the count out of Mackey, with Myra Carlo on deck for the Titans. In there. Strike 1. It's 3-2. 3-2 the count out of Mackey. That's what the umpire at home plate is showing. And swung on a miss, strike 3. Skylar Johnson with her first punchy of the night. Brings plate number 16, Myra Carlo. Carlo is batting .441 on the year with 26 hits and 59 at-bats, 14 runs, 15 RBIs, 4 doubles, a triple, and 3 home runs. Carlo takes ball 1, and it's a 1-0 count to Myra Carlo. And here's the 1-0 pitch. In there, strike 1's called, 1-1 the count out of Carlo. Here's the 1-1 pitch from Johnson. Swung on, hit to the shortstop who bobbles it. Carlo will get to first on the error by the shortstop. Number 3, Taylor Redmond. That'll bring to the plate number 15, Haley McMurray, who's batting .237 on the year with 14 hits and 59 at-bats, 12 runs, 8 RBIs, 3 doubles, and a home run. Here's the first pitch to Haley McMurray. Outside, ball 1, 1-0 the count to McMurray. Here's the 1-0 pitch. In there, strike 1, 1-1 the count now to McMurray. Here's the 1-1 pitch from Johnson. High ball 2. 2-1 the count now to McMurray. Here's the 2-1 pitch. Swung on and missed, strike 2. 2-2 the count now to McMurray. Here's the 2-0 pitch from Johnson. In the dirt, ball 3. 3-2 the count now to McMurray. Here's the 3-2 pitch. Swung on, hit to left. That ball is deep. And it'll hit just off the top of the wall. Carlo will score though. And it'll be a RBI double for Haley McMurray.
Number 12, Leah Ozenbaugh. RBI double by McMurray.
So I'll bring to plate number 12, Leah Ozenbaugh. Ozenbaugh is batting .263 on the year with 10 hits and 38 at-bats, 11 runs, 10 RBIs, 1 double, 1 triple, and 2 home runs. Here's the first pitch to Ozenbaugh, who takes ball 1. 1-0 the count to Leah Ozenbaugh. Titans have an older roster with strike 1 to Ozenbaugh. Like I was saying, Titans have an older roster with only one non-senior in the starting lineup, and that is Leah Ozenbaugh, who is a sophomore. Here's the 1-1 pitch. Swung on, hit to the third baseman, over to first in time for the third out of the inning. But not before the Titans get 1, and heading into the top of the second, it's Titans 1, Badgers 0. Batting for the Badgers here in the top of the second inning, number 16, Bella Worth. Bedner, the pitcher tonight for the Titans, comes to the game with a 2.72 ERA and a 10-3 record. Bella Worth is sporting a .250 batting average with 10 hits and 40 at-bats. Worth takes strike 1. Excuse me there. Here's the 0-1 pitch from Bednar. High ball 1-1 the count now to Bellaworth. Worth has 5 runs, 6 RBIs, and a double so far this year for the Badgers. Here's the 1-1 pitch. Swung on and missed, strike 2. 1-2 the count now to Worth. Here's the 1-2 pitch from Bednar. And that'll hit Worth. And the leadoff runner is on for the Badgers. That'll bring to the plate number 13, Skylar Johnson, the pitcher tonight for the Badgers, who's batting .324 on the year with 12 hits and 37 at-bats. That'll be caught by Myra Carlo. And that's the first out of the inning here in the top of the second inning. That'll bring to plate number 21, Sophia Reimer. As you can see on the replay, it was hit right into the glove of Carlo. And the runner on first, Bellaworth, got back safely. Brings plate number 21, Sophia Reimer, who takes high ball 1. Reimer batting .276 on the year with 8 hits and 29 at-bats, 3 runs, 8 RBIs, and 1 home run. Here's the 1-0 pitch from Bednar, showing bunt. Bunt is down. Seabrandt's got it over to first in time for the second out of the inning. Worth will head down to second on the play. That brings to plate number 2, Adrian Treble. Here's the first pitch to Treble. Swung on and missed, strike 1. 0-1 the count to Adrian Treble, the 9-hole hitter tonight for the Badgers, who's batting .455 on the year with 10 hits and 22 at-bats, 10 runs, 9 RBIs, a double, a triple, and 1 home run. Here's the 0-1 pitch from Bednar with 2 outs and a runner on second. Swung on and missed, strike 2. 0-2 the count now to Treble. Here's the 0-2 pitch to Treble. Swung on and missed, strike 3. Badgers get a runner on second but can't score, and heading into the bottom of the second, it's Titans 1, Badgers 0. Batting for the Titans here in the bottom of the second inning, number 10, Keelan Yelkin, followed by Ava Schmuddy and Kinsey Seabrandt. Yelkin's batting .269 on the year with 14 hits and 52 at-bats, 12 runs, 7 RBIs, and 3 doubles. First pitch to Yelkin is taken for a strike. 0-1 the count to Keelan Yelkin. Titans looking to add to their lead. They're already in the lead 1-0. Off an RBI double by McMurray back in the first inning. Swung on and hit in the air. First baseman looks to be under and makes the catch for the first out of the inning. That is Sophia Reimer. to make the catch, and that'll bring to plate number 1, Ava Schmuddy, and a quick out for the Badgers here in the bottom of the second. And here's the first pitch to Schmuddy. In there, strike 1, 0-1 the count to Ava Schmuddy, who's batting .273 on the year with 15 hits in. Fouled off by Schmuddy, 0-2 the count out to Ava Schmuddy. 15 hits in 55 at-bats, 11 runs, 4 RBIs, 2 doubles, and a triple. Here's the 0-2 pitch to Schmuddy. Swung on it, missed, strike 3. Second punchy of the day for Johnson, and that brings to plate number 8, Kinsey Seabrandt, with nobody on and 2 outs. Here's the first pitch to Seabrandt. Swung on and missed, strike 1, 0-1 the count to Kinsey Seabrandt, who's batting .200 on the year with 11 hits and 55 at-bats, 12 runs, 6 RBIs, 4 doubles, and 1 home run. Here's the 0-1 pitch from Johnson. Inside, ball 1, 1-1 the count now to Seabrandt. Here's the 1-1 pitch to Seabrandt. High and outside, ball 2, 2-1 the count now to Seabrandt. Here's the 2-1 pitch. In the dirt, ball 3, 3-1 the count out of Seabrandt. Here's the 3-1 pitch. Swung on, hit in the air to center. Center fielder's under it, makes the catch for the third out of the inning. That is Hannah Wegman out there in center field, and heading into the top of the third, it's Titans 1, Bennington 0. Top of the third here at Titan Stadium, and that'll bring and batting for the Badgers here in the top of the third, it'll be Brooklyn Fitch and the top of the lineup, followed by Taylor Redmond and Kaylin Moeller. Fitch walked in her first at bat back in the first inning. Here's the 0-1 pitch from Bednar. Swung on and missed, strike 2, 0-2 the count now to Fitch. Here's the 0-2 pitch from Bednar. Swung on and fouled off, and the count will remain the same at 0-2. Here's the 0-2 pitch from Bednar. High ball 1-2 the count now to Fitch. Here's the 1-2 pitch from Bednar. Swung on and missed, strike 3. Fifth punchy of the day for Bednar. That'll bring the plate number 3, Taylor Redmond. Batting for the Titans later in the bottom of the third inning, it'll be Marley Pavelka, followed by Reese Behrens and Liv Mackey. Fouled off. And it's 0-2 the count to Redmond. Here's the pitch from Bednar. High, and it's a ball. And it's a 1-2 count to Taylor Redmond. Here's the 1-2 pitch to Redmond. Swung on and missed, strike 3. Sixth punchy of the day for Embry Bednar. And 2 outs here in the top of the third inning. Muller up to bat for the Badgers. She's 0 for 1 with a strikeout back in the first inning. Here's the first pitch from Bednar. Outside ball 1-0 the count to Muller. Here's the 1-0 pitch from Bednar. Ball 2-0 the count now to Kalen Muller. Here's the 2-0 pitch from Bednar. High ball 3-0 the count now to Muller. Bednar's got to make a strike here. Down 3-0 to Muller. And here's the pitch from Bednar. In there, strike 1 called. 3-1 the count now to Kalen Muller. Here's the 3-1 pitch from Bednar. Low ball 4, and it's a walk to Muller. And the Badgers have a runner on, and 2 outs here for Alyssa Anderson. Courtesy running for Muller is number 7, Chloe Allen. So Allen in to run for Muller. Anderson's 0 for 1 with a strikeout back in the first inning. Here's the first pitch to Anderson, fouled off, and the count's 0-1 to Alyssa Anderson. Here's the 0-1 pitch from Bedner. Swung on, hit past the third baseman Kinsey Seabrand, and will move the runners up a base. And the Badgers have a little two-out rally going with runners on first and second and 2 outs. And Hannah Wegman up to bat for the Badgers, who's 0 for 1 with a strikeout back in the first inning. Here's the first pitch to Wagman. Swung on a miss, strike 1. 0-1 the count to Hannah Wagman. Badgers still looking to get on the board here in the game. Here's the 0-1 pitch from Hannah Wagman. Swung on a miss, strike 2. 0-2 the count now to Wagman. Excuse me. Here's the 0-2 pitch from Bedner. Swung and strike 3 to Wagman. Bedner. Yeah, she probably did go around. And heading into the bottom of the third, it's Titans 1, Badgers 0. Batting for the Titans here in the bottom of the third inning, it'll be the 9-hole hitter, number 4, Marley Pavelka, who's batting .286 on the year. And skies one down the right field line and fouled. 0-1 the count to Pavelka. Like I was saying, Pavelka's batting .286 on the year with 12 hits and 42 at-bats, 6 runs, 10 RBIs, and 2 doubles. Here's the 0-1 pitch. Swung on and missed, strike 2. 0-2 the count now to Pavelka. Here's the 0-2 pitch. Swung on and fouled back, and the count will remain the same at 0-2. Top of the lineup on deck for the Titans and Reese Barnes, followed by Liv Mackey. Here's the 0-2 pitch from Pavelka. To Pavelka, inside, ball 1. 1-2 the count now to Marley Pavelka. Close pitch there on the inside to Pavelka. Johnson at 38 pitches so far on the day, and here's the 1-2 pitch. Swung on, hit to the third baseman who can't quite get it, but foul, and the count will remain the same at 1-2. Here's the 1-2 pitch from Johnson. In there, strike 3 called.
For Norris, number 2,
and it's the third punchy of the day for Johnson, and heading in, that'll bring the plate number 2, Reese Barons. Here's the first pitch to Barons. Swung on, hit up the middle. It's the flex off the pitcher Skylar Johnson's glove and fielded by Richley over to Reimer for the second out of the inning. Slick play there, heads up play there by Richley and Johnson. And that'll bring to plate number 7, Liv Mackey. Swung on, hitting the air to right, and that'll be caught by the second baseman Richley. And heading into the top of the 4th, it's Titans 1, Badgers 0. Leading off for the Badgers here in the top of the 4th inning, number 16, Bello Worth. Here's the first pitch from Bedner. Swung on a missed, strike 1 to Worth. Worth in her first at-bat back in the 2nd inning fell behind a Bedner in a 1-2 count and was hit by a pitch the next pitch. She later made it to second. Here's the 0-1 pitch from Bedner. High ball 1, and that's Bedner's 60th pitch of the afternoon. Here's the 1-1 pitch from Embry Bedner. High ball 2, 2-1 the count now to Worth. Bedner comes set, and here's the 2-1 pitch. In there, strike 2, 2-2 the count now to Worth. Here's the 2-2 pitch from Embry Bedner. Just inside, ball 3, 3-2 the count now to Worth. Here's the payoff pitch from Bedner. Swung on and missed, strike 3. 7th punchy of the evening for Bedner, and hitting. That'll bring to plate number 13, Skylar Johnson, who popped up to the first baseman back in the 2nd inning. Here's the first pitch to Johnson. Inside, almost hit Johnson there. 0-1 the count. Sorry, 1-0 the count to Skylar Johnson. Here's the 1-0 pitch from Bedner. High and outside, ball 2. 2-0 the count now to Johnson. Here's the 2-0 pitch from Embry Bednar. Swung on and missed, strike one, 2-1 the count out to Johnson with Sophia Reimer on deck for the Badgers. Here's the 2-1 pitch from Bednar. Swung on, hit in the air. Carlo is under it and makes the catch for the second out of the inning. Brings plate number 21, Sophia Reimer, who grounded out to the third baseman, Seabrant, back in the second inning. Here's the first pitch to Reimer. Swung on and missed, strike one. 0-1 the count to Sophia Reimer. Here's the 0-1 pitch to Reimer. Swung on and fouled off. Almost hit number 2, Adrian Treble in the batter's box. And the throw to Bednar hits off her glove and straight to the shortstop, Haley McMurray. And the count is 0-2 to Reimer. Here's the 0-2 pitch. They appealed down to the first baseman, and Reimer went around. And heading into the bottom of the fourth, Titans 1, Badgers 0. Leading off for the Titans here in the bottom of the fourth inning, it'll be number 16, Myra Carlo, who reached on an error back in the first inning, followed by Haley Mackey and Leah Ozenbaugh. 3-4-5 for the Titans here in the bottom of the fourth. Here's the first pitch to Carlo. Outside, ball one, 1-0 with the count to Myra Carlo. Here's the 1-0 pitch. High, ball two, 2-0 the count out to Carlo. Here's the 2-0 pitch. Inside, ball one. Ball three. 3-0 the count to Myra Carlo. And outside, ball four, 4-pitch walk to Carlo. Now brings plate number 15, Haley McMurray, who had the big hit back in the first inning that hit off the top of the wall. And it was an RBI double that brought home Myra Carlo. And that's the only scoring so far today, is that RBI double from McMurray. In there, strike one to McMurray. 0-1 the count to Haley McMurray with Leah Ozenbaugh on deck for the Titans. Titans haven't had a hit since that McMurray double. And Carlo was the first base runner for the Badgers. Sorry, for the Titans since the first inning. McMurray bunts it foul. Carlo heads back to first, but now without some trouble. Here's the pitch to McMurray. High ball 1, 1-1 the 1-2 the count now to McMurray. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Swung on, hit to the third baseman, Worth over to first in time for the first down of the inning. But Carlo will move to second. That brings plate number 12, Leah Uzenbaugh, who grounded out to the third baseman back in the first inning. Here's the first pitch to Uzenbaugh. In there, strike one. 0-1 the count to Uzenbaugh. Here's the 0-1 pitch. Inside, ball 1. 1-1 the count now to Uzenbaugh, with Keelan Yelkin on deck for the Titans. Here's the 1-1 pitch. Swung on, hit to the third baseman, Worth, who bobbles it a little bit. Carlos gets caught in a rundown. And the tag is on. Uzenbaugh does not go to second. And the tag was applied by number 3, looks like, Taylor Redmond.
Number 10, Keelan Yelkin.
So it's a fielder's choice for Uzenbaugh on the 5-4-6 pickle. Here's the first pitch to Yelkin, hit to the second baseman, and it'll get up through. Gets by Richley. And it'll be runners on first and second and 2 outs for Ava Schmuddy after the error by the second baseman, Abby Richley. Schmuddy is 0 for 1 with a strikeout back in the second inning. High ball 1, 1-0 the count to Ava Schmuddy. Here's the 1-0 pitch to Schmuddy. Swung on, hit down the right field line, but foul. And the count's now 1-1 to Ava Schmuddy. Titans looking to get some more runs here. They have runners on first and a second and nobody out. Sorry, and 2 outs. Here's the 1-1 pitch. Foul down the left field line. Almost got into the Titan dugout. And the count's now 1-2 to Ava Schmuddy. Johnson at 57 pitches so far on the day. Here's the 1-2 pitch from Johnson. Low ball 2, 2-2 the count now to Schmuddy. Here's the 2-2 pitch. In the dirt, ball 3, and it's a full count now to Ava Schmuddy. Johnson steps back on the mound, and here's the 3-2 pitch. High ball 4, and the bases are loaded for the Titans. And 2 outs for number 8, Kinsey Seabrand, who flew out to the center fielder back in the second inning. And here comes out the head coach, Landon Blanchard, to talk with Skylar Johnson. And I'm going to take this time to thank our NSTV sponsors: Endon Bruns Construction, Gana Trucking and Excavating, Norris Association of Educators, First State Bank, Impact Athletics, Renee Goodhart with Remax Concepts, Genesis Contracting, Sandy Shields with Nebraska Realty, Scott Coho with Mutual of Omaha, Price's Tree Farm, Pro Performance Physical Therapy, Pro Swip Solutions, U-Stop, Venue 522, and the Norris Athletic Booster Club. Also, special thanks goes to Hausman Construction for being our scoreboard sponsor, and to Provision Chiropractic and Wellness for sponsoring our replays. If you're enjoying tonight's free broadcast, please consider donating to us through our PayPal account. Links to donate can be found in our description of our videos or by visiting the NSTV website, which is norris160.org/NSTV. Donors will be mentioned in our future broadcast. Donors of $25 or more will receive a free NSTV t-shirt. 1-0 the count to Seabrand. Swung on, hit to the shortstop. She's got it over to second. In time for the third out of the inning. And heading into the top of the fifth, it's Titans 1, Badgers 0. Batting for the Badgers here in the top of the fifth inning, it would be number 2, Adrian Tribble. Tribble is struck out in her first at-bat back in the second inning. And here's the first pitch from Bednar, swung on and fouled into the fence, and it's 0-1 the count to Adrian Tribble. .72 pitches on the day for Bednar so far. And here's the 0-2 pitch from Embry Bednar. In there, strike 2, 0-2 the count out of Tribble. Here's the 0-2 pitch. Swung on and missed, strike 3.
Strikeout brings up number 1, Brooklyn.
10 strikeouts so far today for Bednar. And that'll bring to plate the top of the lineup in number 1, Brooklyn Fitch. Here's the first pitch to Fitch. Ball 1, 1-0 the count to Fitch. Here's the 1-0 pitch from Bednar. In there, strike 1 call, 1-1 the count out of Fitch. Here's the 1-1 pitch. Fouled off. 1-2 the count out of Brooklyn Fitch. Bednar steps back on the mound, and here's the 1-2 pitch to Fitch. In there, strike 3 called, hit the outside part of the plate there. And it's the 11th strikeout of the day for Embry Bednar. And excuse me. And 2 outs here in the the top of the 5th inning. And Taylor Redmond up to bat for the Badgers. Reached on an error in the 1st and struck out in the 3rd. Swung on, hit in the air, and foul. 0-1 the count to Taylor Redmond. Here's the 0-1 pitch from Bednar. Swung on, hit to right. Hooking foul. And it'll be 0-2 the count out of Redmond. Yokin gave a good chase there for that foul ball. Here's the 0-2 pitch from Bednar. And that'll hit Redmond. And the Badgers will have a runner on and 2 outs here in the 5th inning. That'll bring to the plate number 8, Kalen Moeller. Moeller struck out in the 1st and walked in the 3rd. In there, strike 1 called, 0-1 the count to Kalen Moeller. Here's the 0-1 pitch from Bednar. Swung on, hit down the right field line, but that'll be out of play, and it'll be 0-2 the count now to Kalen Moeller. Here's the 0-2 pitch from Bednar. High ball 1-2 the count out of Moeller. Here's the 1-2 pitch from Bednar. Fouled down the right field line, almost hit the runner. Number 4, Alyssa Anderson in the on deck circle, and the count will remain the same at 1-2. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Swung on and missed. Strike 3. And Bednar strikes out the side with a hit by pitch in between, and heading into the bottom of the 5th, it's Titans 1, Badgers 0. Batting for the Titans here in the bottom of the fifth inning, number 4, Marley Pavelka, followed by the top of the lineup in Reese Behrens and Liv Mackey. Pavelka is 0 for 1 with a strikeout back in the third inning. Here's the first pitch to Pavelka, who takes strike 1. 0-1 the count to Marley Pavelka. Here's the 0-1 pitch. Inside ball 1, 1-1 the count to Pavelka. Here's the 1-1 pitch. Swung on and missed. Strike 2. 1-2 the count now to Pavelka. Johnson steps on the mound, who's at 65 pitches, and here's the 1-2 pitch. Ball 2, 2-2 the count now to Pavelka. Titans looking to extend their lead. Nobody on, nobody out for the Titans here in the bottom of the fifth. Pavelka takes ball 3, and it's a full count now to Marley Pavelka. Here's the payoff pitch. High ball 4, and Pavelka's on with a walk. That brings to plate number 2, Reese Behrens. First pitch to Behrens is in there, strike 1. 0-1 the count to Reese Behrens. Behrens singled in the first and grounded out to the second baseman in the third after it deflected off the pitcher's glove. Inside ball 1, 1-1 the count now to Reese Behrens, and a runner on first and nobody out. Here's the 1-1 pitch. In there, strike 2 called. Pavelka gets back to first as Mueller tried to pick Pavelka off the base paths. 1-2 the count to Behrens, with Liv Mackey on deck for the Titans. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Outside ball 2, 2-2 the count now to Reese Behrens. Here's the 2-2 pitch to Behrens. Low ball 3, 3-2 the count now to Behrens. It's all full. Johnson steps on the mound, and here's the payoff pitch. High ball 4, and the 2 straight walks makes it runners on first and second, and nobody out for the Titans here in the bottom of the 5th inning. And Mueller's going to have a talk with Johnson, who's reached 74 pitches on the day so far. Looks like they're ready. 2 straight walks. And now, you have the top of the Titan lineup is not a great spot for the Bennington Badgers. But here's the first pitch from Johnson to Mackey. Mackey shows bunt. Bunt is down. It's got by the first base. Got by the pitcher Johnson over to the second baseman Richley for the first out of the inning. But the Titans will move up a set of bases. And it'll be runners on second and third. And one out for the Titans with Myra Carlo on up to bat for the Titans. She reached on an error in the first and walked in the fourth. She's the only run so far in this game. And here's the 1-0 pitch. Sorry, the first pitch. 1-0 the count now to Carlo. Here's the 1-0 pitch. In there, strike one. 1-1 the count out of Carlo. Here's the 1-1 pitch from Johnson. Outside, ball 2. 2-1 the count out of Carlo. With Haley McMurray on deck for the Titans. Here's the 2-1 pitch. Fouled off, and the count will be 2-2 now. Here's the 2-2 pitch from Johnson when she steps back on the mound. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Inside, ball 3. 3-2 the count now to Carlo. And here's the payoff pitch to Myra Carlo. Low ball 4, and it's the third walk in the inning. And that will bring to play number 15, Haley McMurray. McMurray is 1 for 2 with a double in the first and a ground out to the third baseman in the fourth. Here's the first pitch to McMurray. In there, strike 1, 0-1 the count to Haley McMurray. Titans have them loaded on only 1 out here in the bottom of the 5th inning. Inside, ball 1, 1-1 the count now to McMurray. Here's the 1-1 pitch. Swung on, hit to the first baseman, Reimer, and that'll be a key second out for the Badgers here in the bottom of the 5th inning, and that'll bring to the plate number 12, Leah Ozenbaugh. Here's the first pitch to Ozenbaugh. Carlo gets back safely as Mueller tried to pick off Carlo. Oh, 0-1 the count to Ozenbaugh. Here's the 0-1 pitch. Outside, ball 1. 1-1 the count now to Ozenbaugh. Here's the 1-1 pitch to Ozenbaugh. In there, strike 2, 1-2 the count now to Ozenbaugh. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Swung on, hit in the air to the second baseman. Richley lets it fall, bobbles it, and Ozenbaugh will get on and bring in a run. RBI for Ozenbaugh. Little blooper in the infield. Looked like Carlo almost ran into Richley. And that might be what the head coach for the Badgers, Landon Blanchard, is talking about with the umpire. But it's 2-0 for the Titans. And we're going to take this moment to tell our sponsors. A big thank you goes out to our NSTV broadcast sponsors, Andon Brunt's Construction, Gannett Trucking and Excavating, Norris Association of Educators, First State Bank, Impact Athletics, Renee Goodhart with Remax Concepts, Genesis Contracting, Sandy Shields with Nebraska Realty, Scott Coe with Mutual of Omaha, Price's Tree Farm, Proformance Physical Therapy, Pro SWIP Solutions, U-Stop Venue 522, and North's Athletic Booster Club. And also thanks to Hausman Construction for being our scoreboard sponsor, and to ProVision Chiropractic and Wellness for sponsoring our replays. If you are enjoying tonight's free broadcast, please consider donating to us through our PayPal account. Links to donate can be found in the description of our videos or by visiting our website at norris160.org/NSDB. Donors will be mentioned in our future broadcasts, and donors of $25 or more will receive a free NSDB t-shirt. So Yelkin up to bat for the Titans. I'm fairly sure what the umpire's talking about there is whether or not Myra Carlo impacted Richley's ability to get the ball. You might have saw it on the replay that we had earlier. And here's the first pitch to Yelkin, who takes ball 1-0 the count to Keelan Yelkin in a 2-0 ball game. Yelkin reached on an error in the fourth and flew out to the first baseman in the second. Here's the 1-0 pitch. In there, strike one called. 1-1 the count now to Keelan Yelkin. Here's the 1-1 pitch. Outside, ball 2. 2-1 the count now to Yelkin. Bases loaded and 2 outs for the Titans here in the bottom of the 5th inning. Here's the 2-1 pitch from Johnson. This will be her 92nd of the evening. In the dirt, ball 3. 3-1 the count to Yelkin, and no place to put him. Here's the 3-1 pitch from Johnson. Foul tipped, and the count's 3-2 now to Keelan Yelkin. And here's the payoff pitch. In there, strike 3 called. And Yelkin goes down looking. Big pitch there from Johnson, and heading into the top of the 6th. Titans get another one. It's 2-0. Top of the sixth inning. Batting for the Badgers, it's number 4, Alyssa Anderson, followed by Hannah Wagman and Bella Worth. Anderson's singled in the third and struck out in the first. Here's the first pitch to Alyssa Anderson. Outside, ball 1, 1-0 the count to Anderson. '87 pitches so far for Bedner tonight. And here's the 1-0 pitch. Swung on, hit to the third baseman, Seabrand, over to first, in time for the first out of the inning, excuse me. Brings to plate number 15, Hannah Wegman, who's 0 for 2 with a strikeout in the first and another strikeout in the third. The first inning strikeout was a strikeout swinging, and the one in the third was one looking, but looks like they're gonna do a pinch hitting. Number 14, Lauren Schmidt, a freshman. Here's the first pitch to Schmidt. Swung on and missed, strike 1, 0-1 the count to Lauren Schmidt. Here's the 0-1 pitch from Embry Bedner. In there, strike 2 called, 0-2 the count now to Schmidt. Here's the 0-2 pitch. Swung on and fouled. Looks like it hit number 16, Bella Worth, in the elbow in the on-deck circle. Count will remain the same at 0-2. And here's the pitch from Bedner. Swung on and missed. Strike 3. Another strikeout for Embry Bedner. She has 13 punchies on the day so far, by my count. And that'll bring to plate number 16, Bella Worth. In there, strike 1 called, 0-1 the count to Bella Worth. Here's the 0-1 pitch from Embry Bedner. Swung on a miss, strike 2. 0-2 the count now to Bella Worth. Here's the 0-2 pitch to Worth. Swung on and fouled, and it will remain the same at 0-2. Here's the 0-2 pitch. High ball 1, 1-2 the count out of Bella Worth. Here's the 1-2 pitch from Bedner. Swung on and missed, strike 3. Punchy number 14 on the day for Bedner. And heading into the bottom of the 6th. Titans 2, Badgers 0. Leading off for the Titans here in the bottom of the 6th inning, number 1, Ava Schmuddy. Schmuddy walked in the 4th and struck out in the 2nd. Here's the first pitch to Schmuddy. In there, strike 1 called, 0-1 the count to Ava Schmuddy. Seven, 8, 9 for the Titans here in the bottom of the 6th. Swung on, hit in the air. The shortstop Redmond's under it and makes the catch for the first out of the inning.
Brings to plate for the Titans, number 8, Kinsey.
Brings to plate Titans, number 8, Kinsey Seabrant. Seabrant flew out to the center fielder in the 2nd and reached on a fielder's choice in the 4th. Seabrant takes inside, ball 1. 1-0 the count to Kinsey Seabrant. Here's the 1-0 pitch. Outside, ball 2. 2-0 the count now to Seabrant. Here's the 2-0 pitch. Inside, ball 3. 3-0 the count now to Seabrant. Here's the 3-0 pitch from Johnson. Outside, ball 4, and it's a 4-pitch walk to Kinsey Seabrant, and that'll bring to plate number 4, Marley Pavelka. Ground ball to the first baseman, number 21. And that'll bring to plate number 2, Reese Barron. Barron singled in the 1st, grounded out to the second baseman in the 3rd, and walked in the 5th. Grounded to the second baseman, Ridgely over to 1st in time for the 3rd out of the inning. And heading into the top of the 7th, Titans are in the lead 2-0. Titans are 3 outs away from moving to 16-8 on the year. And batting for the Bennington Badgers here in the top of the 7th, number 13, Skylar Johnson. Ball 1 to Johnson as Bednar, that was Bednar's 97th pitch. Here's the 1-0 pitch from Embry Bednar. Swung on and missed, strike 1. 1-1 the count to Skylar Johnson. Here's the 2-0 pitch to Johnson. Swung on and missed, strike 2. 1-2 the count now to Skylar Johnson. Here's the 1-2 pitch from Bednar. In the dirt, ball 2. 2-2 the count now to Johnson. Here's the 2-2 pitch to Johnson. Fouled off, and the count will remain the same at 2-2. Here's the 2-2 pitch from Bednar. Swung on and fouled down the right field line. The count will remain the same at 2-2. Bednar has thrown 6 shutout innings for the Titans so far today. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Swung on and fouled, and the count will remain the same at 2-2. Barnes didn't warmed up in the Titan bullpen as Bednar's preparing to throw her 8th pitch of the at-bat. Swung on and missed, strike 3. Punchy number 15 on the day for Bednar. And that'll bring to the plate number 21, Sophia Reimer. It'll be number 19. There's no number 19 on the rosters they gave us. It's Emery Schmidt. Appears to be on the picture of the lineup I got.
Now to play for Bennington, number 19, Emery Schmidt.
Coach McMurray out to talk with Bednar as it's a 2-0 count to Schmidt. I'd like to thank, a big thank you goes out to our NSDV broadcast sponsors, and Bruns Construction, Gaina Trucking and Excavating, Norris Association of Educators, First State Bank, Impact Athletics, Renee Goodhart with Remax Concepts, Genesis Contracting, Sandy Shields with Nebraska Realty, Scott Cohout with Mutual of Omaha, Price's Tree Farm, Pro Formance Physical Therapy, Pro SWIP Solutions, U-Stop, Venue 522, and the North's Athletic Booster Club. Also special thanks to Hausman Construction for being our scoreboard sponsor, and to Provision Chiropractic and Wellness for sponsoring our replays. If you're enjoying tonight's free broadcast, please consider donating to us through our PayPal account. Links to donate can be found in the description of our videos or by visiting our website at norris160.org/NSDV. Donors will be mentioned in our future broadcasts. Donors of $25 or more will receive a free NSDV t-shirt. 3-1 the count to Schmidt. Nobody on, 1 out for the Badgers. 2-0 lead for the Titans. And here's the 3-1 pitch from Embry Bednar. Swung on and foul tipped into the catcher's glove. 3-2 the count now to Schmidt, with Adrian Treble on deck for the Badgers. And here's the payoff pitch from Bednar. In there, strike 3 called, and Schmidt have thrown her bat as if she had walked. And it's 16 punches on the day for Bednar, and the Badgers are down to their last out with Adrian Treble up to bat for the Badgers. She's 0 for 2 with a strikeout in the second and a strikeout in the fifth. Here's the first pitch to Adrian Treble. Thrown way outside, ball 1. 1-0 the count to Treble. Here's the 1-0 pitch from Embry Bednar. In there, strike 1 called. 1-1 the count now to Treble. Nobody on, 2 outs for the Badgers. Here's the 1-1 pitch from Embry Bednar. Swung on as they appealed to the first base umpire and missed. 1-2 the count now to Treble as the Badgers are down to their last strike. And here's the 1-2 pitch from Bednar. In just outside, ball 2. That one got me, folks. And it's a 2-2 count to Treble. Here's the 2-2 pitch from Bednar as the Badgers are down to their last strike. In there, strike 3 called. Bednar strikes out the side, and the bottom of the 7th finishes the day with 17 punchies. Titans win 2-0, and their next home game is next Tuesday against Lincoln Standing Bears. Should be a good one. I'm Mitchell Severson. Thanks for tuning in on NSTV.